Hi there, glad you could join me. I'm Carol Chang. I'm an occupational therapist and owner of Evolving Homes. My business helps older adults be able to stay at home instead of needing to go to assisted living. So I do everything from putting up beautiful grab bars to teaching people how to get up off the floor and building strength and good habits so that they can bring in the dog food and make sure that they have good social connections while they age in place. Oh, so around this time of year, people ask me all the time, what should I buy, mom or dad? And what are my favorite things, my favorite recommendations for keeping people safe and functioning better at home? So I put this together. These are my top 10 things I recommend over and over and over again, easily available stuff that you can buy on Amazon. I also offer virtual consultations for whole families. If you're looking for something a little bit more personalized, I will often have a Zoom call with 3 different people in 3 different cities, and we'll talk about what potential things can help them be able to stay at home a little bit better, so everyone's on the same page. So if you're interested in something like that, you can email me at info@evolvinghomes.com or go to my website, evolvinghomes.com, and fill out the contact me form. The information will probably be, I think it's on the last slide as well. So, all right, let's get started. So top 10 things to make life easier. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So one of my favorite things to recommend is a recliner with the lift function. Now, this is the most expensive thing, but it's perfect for holidays because that's when you have the excuse to say, look, that recliner's 25 years old. Look at the dents in it, this awful posture. Let me get you something nice and firm that can sit you up and help you function better. And people love this. They always resist it because they can be kind of expensive, but they always love it and find that how did they live without this thing? So of course, the number one thing is usually the arthritic knees. A lot of recliners tend to be really low to the ground. And so if you see somebody with their hips lower than their knees, a lot of times that means that they're really having to push hard with those knees to get out of that space. So this one, a lot of times these recliners will put you at a good ergonomic position, which is 90 degrees at the hips and 90 degrees at the knees. And in this one here, you can see it's kind of in a lifted up position. So you'd probably be higher than 90, which if anybody out there has had hip surgery, you'll know that you're not supposed to break 90 degrees when you get up and down. So these are great post-op hips to be able to help you make sure you don't break those hip precautions that are for 3 months. So another thing that I've noticed that it's really helpful for is for caregivers. So when they're trying to get their loved ones up out of the chairs, they're not having to haul them up. They can use the lift function to be able to get them standing just a little easier. So it is saving the back of those caregivers who are doing that transfer maybe 10 times a day if they're needing to go to the bathroom frequently or just wanting to get some movement around the house. So these things come in lots of different qualities, sizes, fabrics. I think that on one of my other slides, I had written, you can get one for about $350 on Amazon, and you can buy really nice ones like the Golden Lift ones for $2,500, sometimes up to $3,000. So what's the difference between this? I mean, why would I want to spend that much more? So the difference really comes down to the foam in it, the functionalities in it, sometimes just the mechanisms behind it. How good are they? What kind of warranty do you have behind it? A lot of clients that I have who have difficulty with that transfer spend a lot more time napping in the chairs. And so in those situations, you want to have a foam that can handle that heavy use and aren't going to start creating those little divots and, spaces that, give you back pain later. So And that is really, it really depends on the person. I have had families where they would rather just buy a $400 chair once a year. They just get rid of get a new one every Christmas. And then other people who say, look, I would really like to invest in it. And then that way it's something that, I buy one chair and I'm good, or I pass it along and it's still in great condition and it looks nice. So aesthetics is also something that is something to consider. So one, foam is really important. So if it's heavy duty, it's going to maintain the shape. Think the cost of memory foam mattresses versus just the regular kind that you would buy. You're going to pay more, but it's going to last longer because it doesn't deform. The other thing that I get a lot is the fabrics. So a lot of times if somebody's having difficulty getting up and down from a chair, it can be that incontinence is an issue. Now, they make incontinence pads that you can put down on the chair. You can wash them, no problem. But if somebody is a little bit concerned about what that looks like, if somebody were to visit and looking at pads all the time, they might be more interested in a fabric that can tolerate a little bit of moisture, but not have to worry about the stigma of having something that they're sitting on. So a lot of companies will make urethane fabrics that go over top. It can add to the cost a lot. I want to say that last time that I got one, it was probably at least a $500 upgrade, but it's another option. Now, leather also, of course, is very cleanable. You can do that. It might absorb a little bit more water, but again, it's one of those decisions that you have to make and decide, well, how much moisture are we expecting? What price point is okay with me with that? So I wanted to point out another one of my favorite things is that a lot of the lift chairs now come with features where the legs go way above the heart. And that's really important because when I go to see a client and I see swelling in the ankles, a lot of them know, oh, you have to keep your feet up. But for them, our definitions of elevation are totally different. They're thinking, I'm sitting on the couch, I put my feet up on this coffee table that is lower than the couch, that's elevation. Well, it's better than on the floor for sure in that dependent position, but it's definitely not going to be enough to really drain that fluid out of there to decrease that pain that you get from Flintstone feet. So I really love the chairs that go not just flat, but actually have the feet higher than the heart. So it really just drains everything back down to where it's supposed to be. It's so much more comfortable, and people find that it's very energizing. So Golden Lift chairs have that thing. They call it a twilight function in theirs. And other recliners that I've seen also have heat and massage functions. So heat and massage will also increase circulation, which will speed up that process as well. So many things that you can check out to find that really great luxurious gift for a loved one. So something a little bit less expensive, you don't have to think about it too much, are walker trays and bags that can go over top to help transport things to and from spaces. So, as an OT, we're always talking to people about not forgetting their walkers in the kitchen, or they go to do something and they've left their walker wherever, and so it's not available. A lot of times you'll see this happen with meals, because when you're trying to push the walker with one hand and hold a plate with the other, it's virtually impossible. So people just give up, and you see them kind of walking with their juice in one hand, tray in the other, and just walking very carefully over to their recliner. So a better option would be, how do we find a way so they can bring both at the same time? So this kind of style is probably one of my favorites because it's easy. You just have to watch out because they come in different, the opening of where the walker handle is, it's different for each brand. So you might get an Invacare versus a Drive. Just check and see. The great thing about Amazon is that they're totally returnable. So if you get the wrong one, it's not such a big deal, but it's just something to think about since I've had that happen to me before. They also make walker trays that fold down. They're kind of spring hinge. They fold downwards down the side. Those work too. Sometimes I find that they are not quite as sturdy, that they can pop off, but this is where preference matters. So if somebody is really putting a lot of weight onto the arms, they are going to need to get a little closer. So you can see how this person's waist is being blocked by the end of that walker. That's fine if the walker is just incidental help. But if somebody is toe touch weight bearing, for example, and they have to put all their weight onto their handles and not on their legs, that's going to be a problem. So that's when one that slides down is going to be a little bit more appropriate for that situation. So this is for carrying meals, but what about leaving the house, going to the doctor, going for a walk down the street? You know, they make these really great walker bags that can just attach to the front. And that way you have a place for your cell phone or a book or whatever that you're going to bring from room to room. Those ones are generally going to be a little bit smaller in capacity. So they are great for those incidental things like glasses too. If you're doing things like laundry baskets are probably better with a rollator walker, which is the 4-wheel one, because now you're talking about a little seat inside, a place where you could put the laundry basket and then just roll it elsewhere. And those ones, generally the seat will sit up so that you can put things in underneath the seat as well. But that's another level to this. I mean, if you're just looking for something nice and small, these are great. I think one of the other things that I mentioned was getting a cup holder from a bike store. Those are also great. You get these things that attach to the little round parts. You can have them so that they're facing outwards for that coffee mug, or ones that are retractable so they fold down and back up again. That is really useful, especially if you're in a wheelchair. Wheelchairs don't have the option for putting this tray on top. And so a lot of people, when they want to have their coffee in the morning, sit outside, they want to be able to roll it out there. So they make cup holders that have a little slot for the handle so that you can put it right there. It's totally stable. They're really great. So again, this is a very easy thing to find on Amazon, usually in the, I'd say $20 to $40 zone. So very affordable. Okay, medication management is another thing that everybody has concerns about, especially for their loved ones. You know, it can be really exhausting if you're having to come in once a week, trying to fill one of those 7-day ones. There are lots out there that do 30-day, 17 or 14 days. These ones here have locks on them so that you can only access them when it's that time frame. It's something to consider. Also, that you can buy pre-filled tray ones where you can pre-fill, let's say, a few weeks at a time, and then you just pop that in. So they also have some really interesting things now with technology, that it can detect whether or not you've taken the pills, and then it can send that message over to someone and say, look, it's 12 o'clock, you know, they took their pills, or they didn't take their pills, they need a phone call over. So that's a really interesting development in the last, you know, decade or so, that has been able to help remote monitoring of loved ones, so that you don't have to be in their space all the time, but you'll know if they are taking their meds or not. So when you're picking these kinds of things for somebody else, you want to consider the fine motor skills of that person. Can they flip open that container? Is it big enough? Do they have visual issues that might need a little bit of a bigger screen, a different color contrast maybe? When I'm looking at this one in this picture, I would imagine this is probably one where it's a gray screen with darker numbers. Those colors are very similar. It's going to be harder to see. So you might want to check out something that has a bigger window with maybe blue lettering on a white background, something that's easier to see if that's the issue. But that is something that you can check out as well. Grabbers and reachers. I own one in every room probably, because they're so useful. These are not just for older adults or somebody who has had a hip surgery. They're for everybody. So the most common use for an OT, though, is to use these for lower body dressing after hip surgery. So what I was saying before, after hip surgery, you're not allowed to bend forward for 3 months at past that 90-degree angle. So it's pretty hard to be able to put on pants, shoes, and socks unless you have something that extends your reach. So we teach people how to use these reachers to lift up a corner of their pants and pull them up. And they get really fast with it. It can also be helpful if somebody drops something or they need to go out and get their newspaper in the morning. So they're not spending too much time in that head down posture. I'm a Parkinson's specialist. So one of the things that I notice a lot is a very slow motion with my Parkinson's patients, especially when they're head down. And that is it's kind of a big deal when you're thinking about dizziness and passing out and blood pressure. So we don't want people to be scared about reaching down there, but we want them to be aware that they really need to come up more quickly. And if they can't, let's try to use a device that can help, accomplish the goal that they're trying to do, get the paper, without being tempted to be in that head down position for an extended period of time. They're also great for getting things out from between the washer and dryer, or getting dog toys that rolled underneath the couch. They come in lots of different sizes. When I first started doing OT, this was like the only kind that was available. And then I started seeing ones at Home Depot that were for grabbing branches. And I love that I've seen ones before for a few dollars at Harbor Freight that are 12 inches. So this one that you're looking at is probably 26 inches is our typical size. That is really good for somebody who is not super tall, that'll still be able to reach the floor. They also, generally the standard sizes are going to be 26 inches and 31 inches. So 31, if you're shorter, it can be kind of too long for you to hold your pants way up here if it's used for dressing, but 31 is going to be a great size for picking newspapers up off the floor or getting things from under the couch. A lot of them, at least the dressing ones for sure, have a little magnetic tip, and that is for picking up things like keys that have fallen on the floor, or grabbing a can of tuna off the shelf. I probably wouldn't do something too heavy, but something small is totally fine. They're very useful for getting the fridge door open. If that is something that has a little metal piece on it, you see a little tip on this one. That's sometimes what I'll use for the drawer as well. So they're really useful. They just sometimes need a little practice. And they also come in lots of different orientations now. Instead of just being this direction, they can come in this direction too. But again, it just depends on what you're trying to accomplish. These ones sometimes are a lot harder for getting pants on, but they might be better for grabbing that can off the shelf. So consider what it is that you're trying to accomplish and try to pick what it is that you need. Okay, grab bars. So grab bars, I get a lot of patients who, when they say here grab bars, they think institutional grab bars. Ugh, right? Nobody wants their house to look like Olive Garden. So a lot of resistance that I used to get was, I don't want those in my house. I don't want my house to look like rehab. Nowadays, there's really no excuse for not having grab bars in the house, just for bathroom safety, just basic bathroom safety. Anybody and everybody can benefit from that. And I use them I replace towel bars with them, so that now there's always something to grab onto in case of falls. I put up and down ones, so if somebody does have a fall, that they can have something that's really solid that they can pull themselves up off of. In this one, I'm just showing there's every color combination possible that you can have it color coordinate with your house, make it aesthetic. I am all about making whatever equipment that you're going to put in part of the decor and hidden in place, making it look beautiful and not institutional, and making it so that you are excited about the space that you have. So one of the funny things is that studs are generally 16 inches apart, but for whatever reason, if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, most of the grab bars come in these funny sizes. So they'll be 12 inches, then 18 inches, 24 inches, 36 inches. So, to get around that, the best thing to do is do a grab bar attachment. They make specialized ones. I wrote one here called the Mow and Secure Mount. Is easy to get. It's at Home Depot. You need a 1 1/4 hole saw. Usually, if you're going to go through the tile, it's going to have to be a diamond, which are about $50 or so, but it's totally possible. So those are easy to do. You just drill the hole, put them in there. But it's just something that I want people to understand, that you need to consider the installation more than the weight limit. Nobody ever complains about a bar breaking in half. Almost always, whenever I've had injuries, people breaking their hips because a bar fell out of the wall, it's because it was installed incorrectly. And shockingly, I've seen people who have been to commercial spaces where, when the bar came out, clearly it had been installed into the drywall, which is regular installation parts, not into the studs, or even in an attempt at that. So you just never know. But in your own house, when you install it yourself, you want to make sure that at least one side goes into a stud that you can use wood studs into, and the other side, maybe the Mow and Secure Mount or some other ones. I have ones that big hotels use, because they don't want things coming out of the wall. They use big giant metal ones that are built for heavy TVs and shelves, stuff that they do not want coming out of the wall and having a lawsuit on them. So sometimes, depending on the situation, if it's an amputee, I might use one of those, just because I want to be 100% sure that thing's not coming out of the wall. Here is an example of hidden in place grab bars. This is a toilet grab bar. It functions as a grab bar, and it holds the toilet paper. And if you walked into a space, you wouldn't know that that is a grab bar. It's just pretty. There are lots of different kinds now. It's so wonderful that, because aging in place is so prevalent, people are listening and manufacturers are making what it is that they want. So when you get 9 out of 10 people saying, look, I have no plans on leaving this place, then they start making more. And that helps give the average person a lot of choice. So one thing that you have to consider, though, is that some of them are made for remodels, meaning that when you remodel your bathroom, that you're putting up wood blocking behind it, and so that you'll have something to attach to. And then some of them, like I said, with the Mow and Secure Mounts, you could attach them without a stud. So you have to consider, though, where you're going to be putting it and what shape you're looking for. So for example, this one has a tiny little install piece. You're going to see that Secure Mount won't be hidden in there. You're going to see a big circle around it. It wouldn't be ideal for that situation. So something to consider with that. Grab Accessories makes a great one that's a nice round one. I think they're probably about $80. That's a nice mid-range balance between something that is designed to be put into pre-blocked walls versus something that is just a secure mount one. So if the manufacturer makes it for them, that will be a lot more streamlined and aesthetic looking. So with the toilet one, you really want to make sure that you're installing it in a location that's the right height and distance, so that you can use it to pull yourself up and then be there so that you can hold on to it in standing while you're trying to pull up your pants with the other hand. So making sure that before you drill those holes, put the person on the toilet and have them stand up and check and see, where are they? Where is their height? Where would the grabbing place be best for them? Okay, so it's really important to have our spaces personalized to what you need and not what ADA tells you or what it says on the box. Look at the person and put it there, mark it up on the wall, and it'll be exactly where you need it. So shower benches are another common thing that people ask me about. So an easy thing is to do a Carex shower chair. I love those ones because they have a screw bottom so that you can control all the little adjustments in a shower, especially a walk-in shower that has tile that will sometimes be a little uneven, or if they've done a center drain where the drain isn't directly in the middle of the shower, you're going to have areas where it's sloping downwards to drain down there. So it's really nice to have a little bit of control, because the more stable a shower chair feels, the more likely that person will feel safe and will be more likely to use that shower chair. I've been a therapist for almost 25 years, and I can tell you, I've met more than a dozen or more ladies who just don't do sponge bathe. They're so afraid of the shower, either from a previous fall or they're afraid to be cold. That's just what their normal is. So trying to make a space as inviting and safe feeling as possible is a win-win for everybody. I always do a chair anyway in a shower, no matter who it is, what the situation is. It's a great thing to have, especially if you have this space. You get diabetics who can check their feet. They need to be checking the soles of their feet every time that they wash. If they don't feel it, they won't see it. So it's a great place for that. It's a nice place if you're going to shave your legs so that you're not in a head down position again. I get COPD patients who, the heat in there can suddenly make them feel like they can't breathe. And having a place that they know is right there that they can sit is very, very useful. People also will get sudden dizziness, maybe sometimes from dehydration. Maybe they got up first thing this morning, they didn't have enough water, they suddenly feel dizzy. Or sometimes vestibular stuff that they get in there and they just don't feel good. So place to sit, always good. Sliding shower chairs are also great if this is somebody who is more dependent and they are having a lot more trouble with scooting left and right, moving their bodies on their own. A caregiver can transfer them onto that chair, and then they have little rails on them that will slide them in. And what's even better is that they have other models that have seat belts and swivel seats. So there's another little lever that will pivot them so that now they're facing the wet wall where they need to be to take that shower. Those ones also come in ones where it could be toilet to shower, toilet to tub, or toilet to space, that other space. That also can decrease a lot of the work for a caregiver if they want to use the bathroom first, and then to decrease that another transfer, just move them all the way over. So in this picture, this is a transfer bench style that I really like. It doesn't have legs on the outside. A traditional transfer bench, which is one where you'll sit just like in a car and slide in and pivot with get your feet to get over the tub. Those ones generally have feet on the outside. And when you have feet on the outside of that, it's hard to put that shower curtain over without getting water all over the floor. You can always get around that with towels on the floor, but it's just one more step to manage. And one of the things I like about this particular one for Christmas time is that it's beautiful, it's pretty, and it's so multifunctional. I own one of these at my house, and I use it for baths. So if I'm taking a nice, long, luxurious bath, this is a place where I can put my book. I can put an extra towel to wipe off my fingers if I, have to, touch something. It's a great place for a drink, whatever. It's so useful for everything. And it definitely does not have the look of a shower chair. So you see the little white legs underneath it, those are tension legs. And so what you do to keep that secure is to get it to the edges and then you screw it into place. So this one just takes a little bit of checking. You just check to make sure before you do the transfer that they're secure. But generally, when you get on that thing, you can move left and right and that thing's not going anywhere. So love that one. And that's probably about $250 compared to the other kind that are maybe $60, $70. So great Christmas present. This is another one. I probably order one of these once a week for patients because they're so inexpensive, and two, they're so useful. So this one is a bidet attachment. Most of them that I order are going to be cold water because they're easier and cheaper. This one's probably about $50. They also make them with a female function so that the angle is just pointed just a little bit more forward. And like I was telling you before, with my ladies who are afraid to get in the shower, but they are getting urinary tract infections more frequently, this is a way for them to wash those areas really well with some soap every day to make sure that's not an issue. So I will teach people to do foam soap in their hands, get it nice and lathered, turn on the female function, just hold it there and get it rinsed off. And you know what? Then we're not having a discussion about getting in the shower. It doesn't have to be in the shower that you keep those parts clean. So these are also great for post-op anything. So post-op back surgeries, post-op knees, post-op hips, anything where there has been the recommendation not to twist. So twisting when you're managing a bowel movement is pretty common. And sometimes it's not just that they're not supposed to because of precautions, but that they just can't. They can't reach, they can't move without hurting. These are great. This is a great way to manage this. And most of the time you can just unscrew the bolts at the top of the seat, put it on there, and then replace the bolts and then just connect it underneath. Plumbers can do this for you as well if you just want to have somebody take care of it. They also make, BioBidet makes ones that are heated seats, but those ones, before you buy them, you got to check behind your toilet and make sure that you have an electric plug back there. So nowadays, I think it's code to have an electrical outlet there because of the popularity of people having bidets, but a lot of the places that I am remodeling or just trying to manage, they just don't have that. So save yourself from having to return it to a place by just checking first and seeing. And I never would have believed it before I had a cold water one, but you get used to it. It's really not as big of a deal as it sounds. So you might save yourself a lot of money with that because a lot of those really nice heated seats, warm water bidet ones, they can be $250, $300. Some of them are $500. But again, great Christmas present. Maybe you throw in that electrician as part of the present. So bed rails here are mostly that it's helpful for people to get in and out of the bed, but also to prevent falls out of the bed. People who roll out of the bed, especially between the night table and the bed. A lot of my Parkinson's patients have restless dreams. They're acting out their dreams. It's a REM disorder. Those ones, I really want to make sure they stay in the bed. So this is a great way to just have a little extra support and safety at the same time. And you can see in this picture, you've got a little pocket in there. So it's a great place for the remote, the TV remote, the reading glasses, the book that you have, the phone. So it doesn't have to be something that is for older adults that need help. It is just useful. So I love those kinds of things. In this one, I usually put the bed rail here or a little bit farther over. I've seen some of them pictures in other manufacturers where they put them kind of in the middle of the bed, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me because I don't know how you'd swing your legs in there, but I'm just telling you because sometimes what'll happen is people order and go, well, where does this thing go? So So yeah, so this is for getting up, and also when you're sitting on the edge of the bed and you're waiting for your blood pressure to catch up from a laying down position to sitting up, it's great to have something to hold on to. I love this also if you have a tall bed and people who can't always touch the floor completely with their feet flat on the floor and knees at 90. This is a great way to make sure you don't slide off the bed, or if your mattress is a little soft. They make lots and lots of different styles now. It's so great. You can buy ones that are twice as wide as this. You can buy ones that have no feet on them. Sometimes if I have a patient with visual issues, I won't buy this kind because they would have a much higher trip hazard of getting their feet tangled up in this one. So those patients, I would recommend the kind where they are going between the box spring and the mattress, and they have a little strap that goes around the whole mattress so it doesn't slide out. Because there are other, sometimes a little cheaper versions that every time that you push outwards, that it will just keep coming out, and it drives people a little bonkers. So again, just check it out and decide what it is that is important. These ones are great because you can put a lot of weight on them when they have feet on the floor. But like I said, just decide if visual stuff, or if that is a person that is a bit more clumsy and would have a tendency towards hitting that. Pain relief and comfort is a big issue for everybody. I think that this is one of those feel good kind of gifts that everybody can appreciate. And they're not too expensive. This shiatsu roller here, it's probably about $50 to $60. I love this one. I have this one for a lot of patients because it's great just sitting in, getting your lower back, but you can also raise it up, get your shoulders. You can have it laying on the bed and, massage out like the back of your, like the hamstrings. My Parkinson's patients have very tight hamstrings. That's a really good system for them. You can bring it down to your calves. Everybody has tight calves and heel cords. So in this one, you can see the little red balls on it, has heat in it. So no matter what, you're increasing circulation, you are making it feel good. It's really kind of a win-win. Generally, people ask me all the time too about, do I do heat or ice? What's going to be the best thing for them? And my usual rule of thumb is that the heat is decreasing the stiffness. So if your pain is related to stiffness, you're going to do heat. And if your pain is related to inflammation, because you're working on something, you're doing something, then you're going to want to consider ice. So I have patients who have very physical jobs that use their hands. For them, I might say, look, you want to get heat mitts first thing in the morning, get your fingers nice and warm and moving. And at the end of the day, we get mitts that have ice gel packs inside of them to just bring down that inflammation. Don't let it get out of control. Otherwise, that is the reason for the pain. These ones down here are microwave mitts. Those ones are likely flaxseed or some kind of bean inside of them. I love that style for the microwave because they release all kinds of moisture, and a lot of times they can smell really nice. Like I said, the ice ones are generally the ice packets those are a little bit better. I don't love those ones for microwaves. They say the packages will always tell you that you can microwave them as well, but I'll tell you, I've blown up more than one in my lifetime. And they're messy, they get all over stuff. So I say, save yourself the trouble. You buy one that goes in the freezer, that's ice pack, that's a gel pack, and you buy one that you keep next to the microwave that has the seeds in them. And the easier you make anything, the more likely you're going to do it. Right now, I'm sure everybody knows what these are. The voice activated technologies are great. And I think that people don't really realize how great they can be. They can really extend to turning your lights on and off, answering the Ring doorbells, unlocking the front door, opening the garage, setting the security systems, changing the temperature with thermostats. My spinal cord patients use Open Sesames, which will open the doors automatically. You can program them to that. These technologies are also entertainment systems. So you can't be with a patient all the time, 24/7. And this is a great way to be able to interact with the internet easily through voice. The Alexas have all kinds of games and quizzes. They can play music for you. You can ask it pretty much to do anything, and people will say it's like having a buddy, a friend that is there. My kids have them in their rooms, and I'll hear them playing 20 questions with them. So they also right now have lots of services that have 24/7 call centers that can connect with these to provide remote monitoring. So if they need help, that they can call 911, get the help that they need, call the dispatcher, and it doesn't have to be calling directly to the emergency services. It can be going to, you can get to that service, that urgent care center, and say, look, I need you to call my daughter for X, Y, and Z. So that is a really great development, I think, in the last few years that is really helpful for seniors, because being able to age in place requires the ability to get help if you need it. And people, the people who are, not there all the time, they need a way to feel that their loved ones are secure as well. So that helps. I left a message here about the Florida Assistive Technology. I have called them multiple times for help to get things set up for somebody who doesn't really know how to use their iPhone or how to use any kind of technology. It's state funded. So they often will have resources to help older adults be able to navigate this jump into technology, because there are so many benefits to it. And if the barrier is just being unfamiliar with tech, get them set up with something like that and, get out that fear, and then they get all the benefits to it. Motion activated lights are a huge thing for me. I probably recommend this for everybody that I have, mostly because the more that you can automate, the more likely they'll be used. If somebody has to take one more step to walk over, flip on the light switch, it just won't do it as easily as if it comes on by itself. A lot of falls happen because people are walking around and it's gotten darker. Maybe it's at dusk time, or the lights are burned out and they just haven't had a chance to replace it yet. So if you can stick these everywhere, you get lights everywhere. It helps with your vision for everybody. This is not just people with visual issues, it's everybody. And a lot of these are great because you can put them at floor level. So even if you're half asleep at 3 a.m., you don't have to be woken up by the bright overhead lights. These ones will just light the path. Here you can see these toilet lights. They make toilet lights that can be programmed for any color, red, green, yellow, blue, whatever. It just makes it fun, and it gives you an additional source of light. The best situation long-term is going to be if you can hardwire them into the light switch. And you can buy those at Home Depot. You can have somebody install them for you. They come with little dimmer options so that in the middle of the night, you're not flipping it on at max intensity. You can program it so that it's at 30%. So you're going to be much less, surprised by the light that comes on over there. So if you have any questions, my email address is down here, info@evolvinghomes.com. And, I do, like I said, consultations for whole families, especially after a fall, if we want to look at risk factors and things that might help, maybe one or two of those hidden in place grab bars that can just be there just in case. Everybody's different. Everybody's tastes are different. Their preferences are different. Their needs are different. So sometimes that one-to-one is something that is really beneficial. And almost everybody that has done that with me has said, wow, I learned so much in that time frame, and it was really useful. So email me or visit the website and check it out. And if you have any questions, of course, email me, let me know, and I would be happy to answer that. All right. Hope everyone has a great day.